Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. So supposedly Donald Trump and the Trump Organization committed serious, repeated fraud. They did something out of the ordinary, something horrible. They wronged someone, right? I mean, that's kind of the implication. Otherwise, why would this civil fraud case even be happening? Leftists claim it's this big, horrible thing, that the case itself, the charges, are being brought purely based on merit, and merit alone. But it seems as though that's such monumental BS that even CNN's top legal analysts are refuting that claim. The leftist narrative surrounding this New York civil case is completely falling apart. Let's start off with a clip from Kevin O'Leary, who dismantled the entire thing, then some legal analysts from CNN. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so let's first start off on the basis of merit. Leftoids tell you that what Trump is doing is serious fraud. Real serious stuff, but let's see what Kevin O'Leary had to say about that.
You've been doing real estate for decades. Does this case strike you as odd?
Well, let's leave out Trump for a minute, and let's leave out politics and just talk about what happens in real estate development anywhere. So if you're a developer and you've got a building on a block anywhere in America and it's worth, let's say, $500 million, and you want to build a building right beside it, you go to the bank and say, this building is worth $500 million. I'd like to borrow a construction finance loan against this asset, and I want you to tell me it's worth $500 million too. And the bank negotiates with you and says, well, no, we think it's worth $400 million. And you fight it out. You're always trying to show your assets in the brightest light with the sunshine you could possibly determine for them. You want them to be worth the very most, because you're only going to get a 40 or 50% loan to value, as it's called. Then you borrow that money. In the case of a $500 million asset, maybe you get $250 million, and you build a new building with a construction finance loan. And so that's what this case is all about. And by the way, forget about Trump. Every single real estate developer everywhere on earth does this. They always talk about their asset being worth a lot, and the bank says no. And that's just the way it is. So in this case, when I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not pro or con, or I don't care about the politics, who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is what they do all day long, every day. So I don't think this thing will ever survive appeal, regardless of what the fine is. This doesn't even make sense. Now, look, I know Trump's got a lot of problems in other indictments and everything else, but this, if you're a real estate developer, you're watching this, you're saying, what is this? This is ridiculous.
He is 100% correct, and I've been saying this literally from the start. If anybody's at fault here, it's the bank. When you go to the bank, you're trying to get the most that you possibly can. It's the bank's job to do their due diligence, to do their own appraisals and come up with their own numbers. Trump could say that Mar-a-Lago, from his purview, from his perspective, based on his analysis, he thinks it's worth $7 trillion frickin' dollars. Scratch that, he thinks it's worth the entire US debt. A little bit over 30 trillion. That's simply his opinion. That's what he represents to the bank. He says, hey, look, in my view, it has such incredible sentimental and historical value that I believe it's worth X. Then it's the bank's job to say, well, we disagree with your opinion. This is our assessment and we're going to give you a loan that's a percentage of our appraisal. Then Trump goes, okay, they meet where they meet. The bank has the ability to wheel and deal and negotiate and make their own decision, and they hand the construction loan based on what they're comfortable with, based on their figure, a percentage of their figure. I mean, this is how it works. I'm not doing $100 million deals like Donald Trump is, but I'm a landlord and I have a relationship with my local bank. And the way it works, especially if you're a good customer, that maybe they'll give you a little bit of favor, they'll work with you. Obviously, Donald Trump is an amazing customer at the bank. They probably love him. And so yeah, maybe they're even willing to give him a little bit more. At the end of the day, we're talking about negotiations here. That's what this is. Trump comes with a figure, the bank comes with their figure, and then what? They meet in the middle or they meet closer to the bank's number. It's a loan. The left is pretending as if Donald Trump did something to harm people. But in this case, and as Kevin O'Leary mentioned, and I've mentioned in previous videos, I fail to see where the damage is, and I keep seeing this mentioned from multiple legal analysts. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was shafted. It's not like Donald Trump committed a fraud, then took the money and ran. He paid the bank back in full. What we're talking about here, this big freaking scandal, this civil case of massive fraud, is a complete joke. And Kevin is 100% right. If Trump is guilty of this, then every single freaking developer is also guilty. I mean, what's Trump supposed to do? Undervalue his properties? Undersell himself? Go to the bank and say, you know what? Give me less. I'll take less. No, every person on the planet goes to the bank, whether it's a basic refinance, whether it's a general appraisal, they want to get the biggest number possible because they're out there battling for their own interests. If Trump did something horribly wrong here, then pretty much every real estate developer on freaking planet Earth is guilty and should be facing the full wrath of the New York justice system. I mean, give me a break. You know, the real controversy here isn't anything that the Trump organization did, it's what Letitia James is doing. That's the real controversy. That's the real travesty. This clear political agenda. Again, let's play the clip.
And what would you say to people who say, oh, I'm not going to bother to register to vote because my voice doesn't make a difference, or I'm just one person?
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you. Get off your ass and vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
I love it.
The fact that she campaigned on that, the fact that she even said that, in my opinion, shows a clear political motive here, a conflict of interest, if you will. She's building her career on this whole get Trump thing. That alone should be grounds for this entire case to be dismissed, let alone the facts or lack of facts in this case. And of course, this is another thing that leftoids dispute. They claim Letitia James hasn't shown any signs of political bias or a conflict of interest. No signs at all. But that argument is such royal BS that even CNN's top legal analysts are basically on our side on the issue. Here's CNN's Eli Honig.
What they were doing, they got paid back. But it is a fact that Letitia James, as Paula Reed said, Letitia James campaigned for Attorney General in 2018 specifically on a promise of vote for me and I'll get Donald Trump. That's not something she said once. She said it dozens of times. She said it in writing. She fundraised off it. And she wasn't even specific. She didn't say, I'll get him for inflating his assets. At one point, she said he could be indicted for money laundering. At one point, she said, the day after she was elected, she said, and I quote, we're definitely going to sue his ass. He'll know my name. And when you make statements like that, how can you say there's no political angle to this? You can maybe say the facts are there, but it's also political. That's Letitia James's own doing.
So what?
I mean, I don't know what to say. Take it as you will, leftoids. There's also this clip.
I think this whole prosecution was a mistake. I think it's very political. It's somewhat campaigned on an election to do this. It's an elected judge. It's part of the sort of the party machinery. Not to say I think he's innocent of all this stuff. I think he's a sleazy businessman. I grew up in New York City. I think the Trumps are sleazy. And he's probably guilty of all this stuff. But it was kind of hard to find a victim. It feels very politicized. The psychology of this is really brutal for him in the sense that he takes great pride in his business and his business empire. On the flip side, the politics of it is being on trial is really good for him. He doesn't have to be there. He's there on purpose. And it's an excuse not to be out on the campaign trail. It's an excuse not to do debates and all that kind of stuff. And it has been working for him.
Not exactly pushing forward the leftist narrative. This case is politically motivated, but most importantly, it is ridiculous. The clown show, the circus is in town. And again, from my perspective, I feel as though the blame is less on Donald Trump and more on the banks. Jonathan Turley made this point.
Well, there is an absurd element to this case when you have James demanding almost $400 million in damages. It is true that the banks did not lose money. There was testimony from bankers saying they wanted to get more loans out of Trump because they viewed him as a whale client, someone who was good for making money. So they didn't lose any money. The only reason we're here is because of this rather bizarre New York law that allows James to seek hundreds of millions of dollars when there's no victim who actually lost money.
They viewed him as a whale client, and so they wanted to give him big loans. Yeah, that's how the bank works. They were fully willing to accept inflated asset numbers because they wanted Donald Trump to continue to build big projects, obviously a mutually beneficial arrangement. I guess developing housing is a real bad thing, according to these communist idiots. What an absolute farce. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.